This is a picture of a coral reef growing underwater. The largest reef in the world is in Australia. It's called the Great Barrier Reef. That'll be a quiz question. Where's the largest reef in the world and what's the name of it? Great Barrier Reef is, I believe, 1,500 miles long. I should have looked that number up, but it's something like that. 1,500 miles of coral. It's absolutely gigantic. We went out and saw it. Eric was there, and Marlissa and my wife and Ken Andrew. We saw the Great Barrier Reef, and it's extremely impressive to watch it. Just beautiful, the stuff down there. We took one of those glass-bottom boats out, and you can see all the fish down there. Well, during World War II, some of the reef was damaged because there are very few places you can get through the reef to get ships in and out. You don't want to drive 1,500 miles to go around the reef, so they just blasted holes through it. Now, based on the damage done to the reef, when they watched it regrow over the next 20 years, they did a study on this. They said the Great Barrier Reef is less than 4,200 years old. There's a great article in Creation magazine dealing with this. One of their figures they came up with was 3,700 years. This is the new Creation magazine, but if you want some fascinating reading, it's like $22 a year to get Creation magazine. It's through Ken Ham's ministry up in Florence, Kentucky, south of Cincinnati. The article in Creation magazine is in volume 8, number 1 on page 6. It was an older issue. It'd be almost worth, if you had the money, to get all the back issues. They've been doing this for 10 years, so it cost you $200 or something like that. But they're really excellent articles in here if you want to look through one of those. Probably, if I could only afford a couple of things to subscribe to, I would subscribe to Creation magazine. I can give you their number if you want to write it down. It's 800-350-3232. 800-350-3232. Or their website is answersingenesis.org. O-R-G. And I don't agree with everything they put in here, but most of the time it's just really fascinating stuff and well documented. So a great article about the Great Barrier Reef, if you want to read more on that, would be found in this back issue of Creation magazine. And they said one of the studies showed 3,700 years. Now, some of the scoffers have tried to say, no, reefs can grow, they grow slower than that. And they look at, I think it's the one of the reefs in the Pacific Ocean around one of the islands. I believe it's Bikini Atoll, if I'm not mistaken, where they say they drill down in the reef and pull up a core sample of reef and find out the coral has layers to it, sort of like tree rings, as colonies grow on top of old colonies. And they say it's much older than the creationists allow for. This would be what the skeptics will tell you. Okay, several factors affect coral growth. If a coral reef is farther from the surface of the water, it grows faster. As it approaches near the surface, because the tide's going up and down, the coral is exposed for part of the day. Now the growth rate slows way down. So the rate of growth depends very much on how much nutrition it's getting. If it's near an area where there's a river coming out right at that area, like one of these Australian rivers exits right there, brings all sorts of nutrients out. Lots of stuff for the coral to eat. It's going to grow faster. If it's not near a river, it's going to grow slower. If the water is clear, the sunlight penetrates, and it gets sunlight, so it's going to grow faster. If the water's murky, it's not going to get the same growth rate. So it's not just a simple science of saying, let's just measure it, and it's not quite that simple. But the estimates are certainly less than 4,200 years. Some maybe even less than 3,700 years. So the creationist has no problem with this. He says, yeah, there was a flood that destroyed the world 4,400 years ago.